Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Upchurch Metaphysical Bible Hangout. I'm Reverend Sherri James, Senior Minister of Understanding Principles, and that's what UP stands for. It actually stands for Understanding Principles for Better Living Church. And I am so excited to be with you this evening. I just want to let you know that we are live all over the world. And just so you know, the site, my website was hacked. It's been an interesting couple of weeks with different things. So the blog post is not up. If you want to watch live, that's probably what I can do. I can post it. I got to figure out how to post the page. Ugh. All right. I don't know if I'll be able to figure that out. Maybe I could. If you want to watch the page, I have an idea. There is a standalone landing page that I created as a temporary substitute, but nobody's going to be able to see that. Well, anyway, it's there because if you're on the YouTube, then you're seeing YouTube, but that's neither here nor there. I'm excited to be here. This is going to be a powerful night because I got to live the lesson practically in my life. And it meant that before I taught it, before I could teach it to you, I had to become a student of this lesson. So I'm excited to be here. I thank you. I'm actually doing this. You can see the background is different. I'm in my home this week. It's been a wonderful, wonderful ride. So Reverend Della would say, you know, when you deal with God, it's an adventure. So I've had some adventure this week that included a hacking and a whole lot of other stuff. So blessings all around, milestones and other things that got crossed this week. Let me pull up our blog post and slideshow. Okay, great. So my hope is that you can see. Let me get off this and go back and make sure you can see. Yes, thank you, Alita. I did. I got, you know, they used to say, I look back and I wonder how I got over. Well, let me tell you, child, I got over this week. So excited to be here. This is going to be a powerful conversation. We're talking about love. We're working from chapter 20 in your life, and the chapter is entitled Laws of Love. And this is for everything that had to happen to make today happen. This is absolutely a labor of love. I've got a few announcements, opening prayer. We're going to talk about what is love and then how to let love transform your business. And as you know, I've been reshaping my message to really focus on the spiritual entrepreneur. This is the person who may or may not be in a faith-based business, but realizes that where you spend the bulk of your time, and especially as an entrepreneur, you spend about 60 to 80 hours in your business on a weekly basis, that if you're going to spend that much time somewhere, it must be someplace that nourishes you beyond just putting a check in your pocket. And so I'm speaking to that person that wants to marry their spiritual understanding with their pursuit of material wealth. And so this is why we're shaping the conversation this way, and then Q&A. And of course, feel free to ask questions throughout. I think you have to know why you do what you do. And someone said today, one of my partners in my new venture said, your why should make you cry. Your why should make you cry, meaning that it touches something so deep inside of yourself that you feel it when you begin to talk about it, and it makes you well up. And when you have that, you really have something special, because, you know, the thing is, obstacles are going to come. That's just a fact of life. Obstacles are going to come. I got to experience that over and over and over again this week. And even today, up until the last minute, those of you that tried to go to my site, you probably know that the site is still down. It is reactivated, but it takes several hours before it comes back online. So the blog post didn't get posted, that didn't happen. So, but my commitment is to deposit a single idea that shifts you so dramatically that your life is changed forever. And I tell you often that the woman who did that for me was the Reverend Dr. Mary Ann Tumpkin. And the idea that she left with me is that my good comes to me because my good comes from me. And that idea that what I wanted in life was already in me revolutionized how I thought and how I approached everything in life. And so I think of the Bible Hangout the way that I think of the movie Inception, which is just an incredible film. And it is about getting an idea into the deepest part of the deeper mind such that you accept it as your own idea. And what I would love for you to grasp more than anything else is that you are a divine being and that God has something specific that he wants to do through you that has never been done before. And so I literally push through limitations and ask for help, because I certainly had some amazing help to get that, all the files and malware and all the craziness off the website. But it is for the simple fact that if I can get you to accept that the Spirit wants to do something through you that has never been done before, that you have within you your own fifth symphony, then all of this is worth it. All of this is worth it. I'm better, you're better, the planet is better. Other people who are waiting because they can only hear your voice, they get better. The cycle continues. The cycle of good continues. This Hangout is free, but it does cost to put it together, not just in terms of the internet and all those costs, but also in terms of my time and what I have to put aside in order to make this happen. And so if this is of value to you and you see it and you want to make it easier for it to happen, then I'm asking if you would consider making a gift. And a gift of any size is greatly appreciated. And you can do that at my website. Well, not today, revsherri.com, but tomorrow you'll be able to do it. And I thank you for your consideration. You may not know this, but I'm available to work with you one-on-one. And what I specialize in is in getting people to marry their spiritual pursuits with their material pursuits, and really helping you get at the fifth symphony, get at that unique thing that is only yours to contribute. And so I've had a lot of success and a lot of great testimonies, and I would love for you to be my next testimony. Let me help you become the person whose dreams come true. I would be honored to work with you. This series has 3 parts: the blog, the Bible Hangout, and the Universal Law Library. I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball with the Universal Law Library, but I will absolutely get caught up. But the blog in general comes out on Thursdays unless it's hacked, and then I got to wait for the site to get back up. The Bible Hangout happens no matter what. And the Universal Law Library we are building the largest collection of online material around universal law. And so we want it to be a one-stop shop where you can come and read up on any area of universal law and learn from it and grow from it. The scripture for this series is Matthew 5:17. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. And then it goes on to say, love fulfills the law. This is in Romans. It says that. And so this is all about the fulfillment of God's law and the fulfillment of love, because God is love. God's law is love. The law is love. This is about the fulfillment of love in the universe. And so it's appropriate that we now come to a chapter called Laws of Love. And so I just ask that you relax and open for what the Spirit wants to do through you this evening. I ask that you come with fresh ears to hear something new about love. I ask for a special dispensation to just teach this lesson with the fire and the authority of Jesus. And I just give thanks and praise because I know that if I bring my best, that God will meet me at my point of limitation and carry me across the finish line. And so I am putting this entire conversation in God's hands. And I'm saying, not my will, but thine be done. Not my will, but thine be done. Thank you. In the name and nature of Jesus, it is so, and so it is. So I think it's important to talk about what is love, because love will transform whatever you apply it to, including your business. So I think it's worth saying what is love, because so many times when we think about love, we think about it in personal terms, but love is God. And you can see that if you look at the way that God cares for creation, no tree has to go without so that another tree can have. That God gives unconditionally and without end to all creation. Love is universal. So this love is in the physical form manifests in what we might call gravity, where it holds everything in this perfect equipoise, and there is nothing is out of balance, that there is this perfect balance in the universe, and it's universal. And so that may be hard to grasp, because so much of what we do in our physical lives focuses on the limited nature of physical supply. But physical supply comes from an unlimited invisible source. And so the moment that physical supply disappears or seems to be depleted, consciousness taps the unlimited invisible supply and new manna appears. Even if only in a limited way, this has played out in your life. Even when you have been down to your last, something appeared. And the reason it does is because the love is universal. And the only way for it not to get to you is for you to block it out. Now, you control how much you open up, but it's universal. It can supply you as much as you will allow it to supply you. Love uplifts and inspires. I've been thinking a lot about leadership and the kind of leader that I am, and what it takes to be that kind of leader. And what I realize is that, when a leader walks into a room of downtrodden employees and through force of personality begins to turn the room on, that's the power of love in action. That we have the ability to transfer energy and to uplift another person. And we love people like that because they just raise us up. If you've ever been in a space with Reverend Della, her energy is so big, and it just lifts you up. Sometimes I think people can't, we had people who came and they just came because, maybe they were fans of Reverend Della, but that's the superficial thing. That's deep calling to deep. That there is something in her that's so alive with the love of God that people want to come and just be in the presence. And they don't know how to describe what it is. So they just say, I just love her. I've just loved her all my life. And so love does that. It uplifts and it inspires. There's a young lady, I think her name is Jerry Washington, and she's back east and she sings, and Reverend Della has retired from public life, so she's not really taking phone calls and doing all the public things that she did when she was living in the public eye. And this young lady was sharing with me how much Reverend Della meant to her life and what an inspiration she was to her, and just all of that. And it just was, you realize that love transcends. That love is this amazing force that it inspires everyone in the vicinity. And so that's what love does. And it's not personal. It's not personal. When you have that kind of feeling, it's easy to think about in terms of celebrity, but that's still the power of God's love in action. Even when we're talking about in that kind of context, because that's what you're identifying with. I mean, you could say, well, I love the way that they dance, or I love the way that they sing, or I love the way that they do whatever it is that they do. But what you're seeing is the expression of God's love pressed out into action. And it does something to you when you realize that and when you see it. There was a video I watched, and it was so powerful. Um, some of you know or have heard of Run DMC. And so DMC, his real name is Daryl. Yeah, Daryl McDaniels. I'm going to get that wrong. And he, one of the things that happened to him, he has a very colorful life story, but one of the things that happened to him is that he started to lose his voice, physically lose his voice as an artist. And he picked up drinking, and he was so, he just was drinking, and he really spent a lot of time contemplating suicide, and actually got to the point where he wanted to commit suicide. And thank goodness he didn't, because of this, the story that you hear from him later is just absolutely powerful. But he wanted to commit suicide. He wanted to just check out. And so his managers and everybody that was around him would try to keep him busy so that he wouldn't take his life. And so many times he thought of doing that, and not being able to make music, and just like not being able to do the things that brought him joy and brought him satisfaction. And one day he gets in the car, because the thing is, now he's a celebrity and people know him and people are touched by him, but he's not making current music. So everyone's seeing him and then reminding him of like his heyday, right? And it's like, and so he gets in a cab in New York, and he lives in New Jersey now. And he gets in a cab in New York, and it was like a thing where he had been flown back into New York. So now he's just really upset, because it's taking him back to like, where he grew up, and, all the memories and all of that. And it was just like, I should just take my life right now. This is the thought going through his head. And he gets in the cab to take the cab from JFK to New Jersey. And the cab driver says, man, I got to tell you, I never do this, and please don't tell my boss, but your music just meant so much to me, and I just love and appreciate your music. And he was like, yeah. He said, I'm gonna put on Hot 97. He's like, okay, that's the last thing I need, is to hear a bunch of rap and all of that. And so he puts it on another station, and a song from Sarah McLachlan comes on. And I believe the song is called Angel. And it touches him so deeply that it makes him want to live. And he said that if something this beautiful can exist in the world, then it's worth me sticking around for this. And so for the next, 2 years at least, he just listens to the song over and over and over again on 24/7. That's all he wants to hear, 24/7. He doesn't want to go out. And so one of his partners or friends, whatever, gets tickets to the Grammys, to Clive Davis's Grammy party. And so he's like, I really don't want to go. Okay. But the guy says, look, man, I work really hard to get these tickets. And so he ends up going to the party. And he gets to the party, and the guy's like, come on, man, socialize. He's like, no. And so he posts up by the door, and it's like counting down, like, I'll stay here an hour, 59, 58, 56. Like, I'm not staying here. People are coming in. Stevie Wonder acknowledges him for his work and his artistry and just all kinds of stuff. And then Sarah McLachlan walks in, and he sees her, and he fans out, and he says, and he just tells her, I want you to know how much your song meant to me, and that I was so ready to like take my life, and because of you, this music. And so she's a little bit like, I wasn't expecting all of that, because she's a fan of his. And finally she says, thank you so much for saying that, but that's what art is supposed to do. And it's such an amazing story. It's such an amazing story. But the point is that when you put your love into what you do, that it pours out of you, and it does something to the people in the world around you. And so that's the power of love. So I'm taking my time with this, because I want you to get that I'm not talking about the personal love between a man and a woman. That is a form of love, but I'm talking about love in this universal sense that transcends people, that transcends race, that transcends culture, that transcends society. That it is this universal force that where deep calls to deep. And that you can so inject what you do with a sense of love that it will reach out and touch the love center in another person. And it's worth it to let that out. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today, is taking that kind of love out of yourself and sharing it in the world. And then finally, love makes all things happen. It heals, it cleanses, it blesses everything that it touches. And so whatever you give love to improves along all lines. And so when you're tempted to respond in kind to some slight or some diss, or just take a moment and realize that that if I give in love, that I can change this entire situation. Yes, I can give back at the level that I'm receiving. That's absolutely possible. But what if I came up a little higher and gave at the level of God? What would happen? What if? So that's the love we're going to talk about tonight. And so the question that we want to answer, and I think you already know the answer, but can love transform your business? And the answer is yes, because love will transform no matter what and where you apply it, right? And so one of the things that, in this world, we have this idea of competition, and we see ourselves in competition with other people. And so we think of life and business as this zero-sum game, and we talk in terms of market share. So I've got 22% of the market share, which means somebody has 22% less of the market share. And there is this focus on, in order for me to have, somebody else has to lose, or something else has to lose. And that is simply not how God has set up this universe. It's just not. And so I'm encouraging you to bring love into all your dealings in business. Let go of this notion of being in competition with others. The only person, if there's anybody that you're in competition with, is the person you were the day before. Because did you outpace that man or woman? Did you show up better than you did yesterday? And when you sit down to tackle a persistent challenge, I'm in this new venture as an entrepreneur. And when I sit down to tackle these new skills that I've got to pick up and these new obstacles that I've got to go over, it's like, start to look for places where you can bring the power of love in. Because here's the thing, love makes no demands on you. If you don't use it to transform your circumstances, it will not do it for you. And so you have to find places to bring and inject love into the situation. Bruce McArthur uses the example of this attorney who was this kind of, rough and tough attorney, had a reputation for being a real hard nose. And he started taking truth classes and learning how to apply love in his life. And so he decided to bring it into his practice. And he was the kind of person that in a courtroom, he would eat you for lunch. And this is a direct quote from McArthur. He says, he found that when he was loving toward the person on the witness stand whom he would normally tear apart, he understood the person. He understood the individual's point of view instead of seeing the flaws in his or her logic. He was able to talk to that one in terms of that understanding and to make clear where the understanding was perhaps not accurate. Because his attitude was not as an adversary, these people didn't need to fight him. They could cooperate. He was not trying to destroy them. He was simply trying to elicit the truth. And so, there's a gentleness to love, but it doesn't mean that you're soft. You can be very focused, but compassionate. You can be, hold people accountable in love. It's all in your approach. And so I love to speak what I need into action. And so if I need to, I will affirm the love that I need. And I will literally say, I am the love of God in action. Divine love through me now manifests all the resources I need to successfully accomplish. And then you just insert the desired result. Can love transform your business? Yes, but you've got to call on it. If you don't call on it, it cannot show up for you. It's ever ready, like ever present, like next to you, in you right now. But if you don't call on it, it cannot do what you want, what it can do, what you would want it to do. So the first thing I want to encourage you to do is to put the universe in your debt. And I want to talk about giving, because giving is one of the ways that we express love. And there is a type of giving that puts the universe in your debt. And this is what I mean. You've got to pay attention to why you give. When you give with the hope of reward or pay, it stands in opposition to the law of love. But when you give without any strings attached, you free the universe to repay you according to the heart behind your gift. And now here's the thing. We're all on the spectrum somewhere between giving selfishly and giving unselfishly. But I want to give you two guidelines for thinking about your giving and helping you get yourself closest to the end of the spectrum where you give unselfishly. So the first thing to know is that as you give, so it is measured to you again. As you give, so it is measured to you again. In other words, sorry about that. There's an ambulance outside my window. When you give what you want to receive, and give in the way that you want to receive. When you give what you want to receive, and give in the way that you want to receive. So how do you want to receive your good? Do you want it to come easily and effortlessly? Then give easily and effortlessly. To come lavishly and generously? Then give lavishly and generously. The universe is a mirror for the way that you show up for life. It would, however you're showing up, the universe is being a mirror back to you. Bruce tells a story in the book of a wife who gets gifts from her husband that are often things that that he would want. So he gets her like a set of, this is for anniversaries, he gets her like a set of tires and like a lawnmower and, you know, stuff that's like, this ain't nowhere on my list. I don't know when you thought this was on my list, but this is nowhere on my list. And this is not easy. This is, you know, you have to put on your big girl pants, big boy pants for this, but the universe is a mirror. The universe is a mirror. Ouch, y'all. Ouch. Really, ouch. So you want to give in the way and the kinds of things that you give, because it's measured back to you again. And so when you give with strings attached, the stuff you get comes with strings attached. And when you give freely, you receive freely. And this is the thing. The reason that you get back what you give is because whatever you give is what is impressed in your subconscious mind that you have. Okay, I'm trying to do this where it doesn't sound like double talk. In order for something to press out into your experience, you have to have it. It has to be a part of you. And so when you withhold your gift, especially financial gifts, because most of us want more money, you know, the number may vary, but most of us want more financial abundance, right? When you give begrudgingly or resentfully or hesitatingly, the challenge with that is that in your subconscious mind is this belief that I don't have. In your subconscious mind is I don't have. And so because the universe is a mirror, it must mirror back to you what you put out. So when you are giving, do what you must to put yourself in a space of complete and total surrender and release. I release this gift and I give thanks and praise that I have something to give, and get in that feeling place. Now that may take some doing to get into that feeling place, but it's worth it. You know, It's easy to do this when you're giving to a person. I've shared the story with you of the little boy whose older brother I used to tutor, and he used to crash the tutoring sessions. And one day I came in, I just finished a class at Up Church. I think Reverend William had taught it, and he had said, you know, what's your purpose in life? Everybody has a purpose. And so I walked in and I asked the little boys, they were 11 to 12, and the younger one was about 8 years old. And I asked them, what's your purpose? And the younger one, both of them kind of said, "Ugh," you know, like, what? I just said, let's tutor, you know. And so, you know, so I go on with the tutoring lesson. And 2 weeks pass. I missed the next week, but 2 weeks pass, and I come back, and this 8-year-old comes back in this sing-songy voice, which is out of character for him. And he says, I know what my purpose is. I'm like, okay, this 8-year-old held on to this for 2 weeks. So like, all right, so tell me, what's your purpose? And he says, my purpose is to draw people. And I make such a huge deal. I'm like, oh my God, like, do you know what amazing life you're going to have? And I go over the top. And literally, I see this look. It's like I don't know how to say, but it's like a lens, almost like a film came off his face. And it went from this look of hopelessness, because he'd seen so much despair in his life, to one of hope. And it shifted me so entirely that I swung into action, and I was like, let me get this kid a tutor. I called the School on Wheels, like, look, Delino has a younger brother right now. We got to get him a tutor. And I called my best friend, Vicky, like, hey, Vic, they're looking for a tutor for this little boy. And can you come be this little boy's tutor? And then we start on this mission. But we can do that when we're giving to other people, because we feel that kind of impact. You know, that's the beauty of organizations like Habitat for Humanity and you know, Doctors Without Borders and Oxfam and other organizations, that, you know, when you go out in the field, you actually get to meet the people that you're giving, and it does something to you. It you know, last year when we gave the blankets to the mainly mothers that were parenting, you know, that are dealing with homelessness in the Inglewood Unified School District, I was nearly in tears as we're passing out blankets, because I have so much to take for granted. And this woman is so grateful to have a blanket to keep herself warm. I mean, it just, even now I get like, wow. And it makes you want to do something. And I'm saying that you got to find a way to get to that feeling place with your money. That when you give at a financial level, that you've got to get to that place where you give and it touches you the same way when you give to another person. Because again, feeling gets the blessing, and you're sending this gift out and it's making a difference. But we're so ho-hum when we share. And I'm saying, give the way that you want to receive. Give in a way that impacts you, that when you release that financial gift, that it shifts something inside of you. Let that happen inside of you. You know, in your respective churches or whatever causes you give to, get to that place of feeling, because it unlocks something in you, and it puts the universe in your debt. Meaning that it opens something inside of you, in your heart and your mind, that allows something good to come into that space. The second piece of this is that as you give, you gain an understanding. So the thing about giving is that you set in motion a law. And when you give, you make room inside of yourself. And there is this understanding that comes when you give. If nothing else, just the fact that you have something to give, that having that understanding. Because some people, if you talk to them, their concept is that I have nothing. What do you have? Nothing. That's not true. And so when you give, it anchors this understanding inside of you that you have something to give. And it begins to awaken that spiritual faculty of understanding, which is located in the front brain, that you can then begin to do more, because your understanding is expanding. You check for comments. Give me 1 second, guys. Phyllis says agape love. Yes. Hey, everybody. Good to see you guys. So I want to talk about these 3 steps to transform your business. And this is a little bit of a workshop. It'll go a little faster than some of the previous ones that we've done. But he gives these 3 steps. And this is from these 3 steps for transforming. He says yourself, but I'm applying it to your business. Transforming your business through love. Step 1 is find the message. So whatever is the difficult situation that you're dealing with, bring that to mind. Whatever is something that's like, it's time for me to deal with this. Your first step to transform your business or your life through love is to find the message. And to find the message, I want to be clear, because we have therapies where we want to know, well, when did this come about? And, well, what did I do to set this in motion? And, that is not what you need to know. That is not what you need to know. Is what is the message this experience is bringing to me? What is the message? So the message that you need to find is contained in the experience itself, and you discover it by looking closely at what occurred. So bring an experience to mind. I should have told you, you need some pen and paper for this. Bring an experience to mind and go through it carefully in your mind, remembering your thoughts about it as it manifested, whatever it is. Maybe it was a financial setback. It was an unexpected overdraft. Maybe it was a fight with your spouse. Maybe it was a disagreement with your parent, with your mom. Maybe it was a run-in with your boss or a coworker. Go through it in your mind. Remember the thoughts that you had about it. What did you think about this? What did you think about this? And then what form did it take? Was it something physical that has happened, like a financial setback, but maybe it was a personal criticism? Like, what was the nature of it? What was the nature of it? You're just bringing it to mind and recalling it. No judgment, just bringing it to mind. And then I want you to note the sequence of events. So what happened right before that incident happened? What were all the things that led up to that incident happening? What was the incident? And then what happened immediately following that incident? And then what I want you to do on the paper, now that you've written some of that down, I want you to use maybe 10 to 15 words or fewer. Now, this is not a lot. It's maybe 2 sentences total. Describe that experience in about 10 to 15 words or fewer and write it down. See, this experience is making a comment to you by its nature, its form, and its sequence. It's telling you something by its nature, its form, and its sequence. And when you summarize it, that's why you only want 2 sentences. It'll probably be a statement of the message in which you can find the lesson the experience holds for you. You will probably find a pattern. Remember, life repeats itself until you pay attention. So when you find the pattern, do not judge yourself for it. All you're doing right now, this is a strict observational exercise. So you're looking closely. What's the nature of it? What's the form of it? And what's the sequence of events? Nature, form, sequence. Nature, form, sequence. You're looking for the pattern. Nature, form, sequence. And no judgment. Tell no stories about what to yourself about what you find. Step number 2, find the feeling. Find the feeling. So now that you have this summary of the situation, now we're just going to sit for a few minutes in a quiet place. We're going to get relaxed or meditative. You can close your eyes and just kind of mentally go over your body from head to toe. And I want you to relax the muscles and the tension in each part of your body. And then take several deep breaths. Let's take a deep breath. Inhale. Let the air travel all the way down to your diaphragm. Exhale. One more time, deep breath. Inhale in. Feel the breath coming through your nostrils, down through your esophagus, down through your lungs to the diaphragm, and then back out. And one more time, deep breath in and exhale. And just relax and release any tension in the mind and the body as you breathe out. Now, I want you to bring the incident that you wrote about in step 1 to mind and go through it. I want you to visualize it, and I want you to experience it in your mind. Take yourself back to that place. And as you're doing this, I want you to pay attention to the way that you feel. I want you to experience those feelings again. And then I want you to notice what it feels like in your body when you have those feelings. When you have those feelings, is it showing up in your lungs, in your chest? Is a tightness in the chest? Is it showing up as a tightness in your upper back or lower back? Where is it showing up in your body as you feel those feelings? Is it showing up in your thighs, a tightening of the thighs, or is there pain in the knee? Where is it showing up in the body? Is your stomach clenched? Are your toes clenched? Where is it showing up in the body? And I want you to just hold the feelings that you're experiencing. Don't attempt to name them or analyze them. Just feel them. Hold them. So many times we run away from feeling. But if we would just go ahead and feel the feelings, feelings dissipate. They don't last. It's only when we won't look at them that they persist. No storytelling about it. Don't name them. Don't analyze them. Just feel them. And notice where it's showing up in the body. And then step 3, bring love to it. Now we're going to do something that only human beings can do. We're going to use the Christ of our being to stand aside as though you are looking at yourself. You're looking at this person who has these feelings. Maybe it's a feeling of being alone. Maybe it's a feeling of not really having anyone to depend on. Maybe it's a feeling of loneliness. And you're just looking at this person who's having these feelings. And you realize that this person, you, is trying to grow and to learn. And so look at the person you are and love that person. Think, say, and feel, I love you just the way you are. I love you. See yourself. See yourself sitting there with those feelings. And the Christ of your being, your higher self, says, I love you just the way you are. Nothing has to change. Who you are as you are is more than enough. I love you without precondition. I love you as you are. I love you as you are. And say it to yourself. Really feel that. Really feel the Christ of your being saying, I love you as you are. You are perfect just as you are. And now put your arms around that person. Hold yourself close. Feel the warmth and the peace of that love. Feel what it feels like to love and be loved. Hold that love. And when it feels right, take a deep breath and release it. Continuing to feel what it feels like to love. Just be in the space. So we're healing ourselves. We have the ability within ourselves to heal ourselves. We never need to walk around with anything. In any moment, you can do this anywhere. This is spiritual first aid for the soul. I love you just the way you are. I receive you as you are. You are perfect. You are whole. You are complete, lacking nothing. When it feels comfortable to do so, open your eyes. Be aware then of any change in that part of you that was carrying the negative emotion. Remember I said, pay attention to where it's showing up in your body. Maybe that area of your body feels a little bit more relaxed, but more importantly, just be aware of your feelings now. Be aware of your feelings right now. My call to action to you is let love transform your whole world. See, the thing about this technique that I just shared with you, what makes it work is when you're able to own your part in the experience. If you feel like it's the other person and not you, there's no pathway for love to come in to transform you. Excuse me. If you feel like it's the other person, you know, they're not right. They're not approaching things logically. They're not doing things in the right way. That if that's your perspective, then love cannot do its work in you. The process is simple. Universal law is simple and it works. It is basic to much of your transformation, and it works because it transforms your consciousness, which is the cause, the creator of the difficulty. So you only need to be willing to try it with some degree of expectancy and faith that in some way you will be helped. But all of this depends on you accepting responsibility. As long as it's the other person, there's no door for love to walk through. Love needs a door. And that door is, I take responsibility for this situation. Love needs a door. And the door is, I take responsibility for this situation. And then, are you willing to see yourself in order to heal and expand? That's what holding those emotions are about. When I kept saying, hold the emotion. Are you willing to see yourself without telling a story about yourself? Are you willing to see yourself in exchange for healing and expansion? See, within you is an entire universe that wants to come into expression. But you've got to be able to look at yourself nakedly and accept yourself unconditionally in order to let out the deepest and best parts of you. And we run away from our feelings. We feel bad that we have feelings. We lie about what we're feeling because we're so busy trying not to be rejected or turned away or who knows. And if we are willing to look at ourselves, then there is a healing that can happen and then a corresponding expansion. The healing happens and then there's a corresponding expansion that follows. And so can you look at yourself as you are, not worse than you are, not better than you are, but simply as you are? And look at the feelings that you're holding in regard to a particular situation and just let love heal you. I call this spiritual first aid. You know, we have the ability to know how to handle minor cuts and scrapes and bruises and bumps. And if we get something, we have the awareness. None of us, I mean, not none of us, most of us are not doctors, right? But we still have a basic awareness of how to dress a wound, how to care for it, and when it's serious enough that we've got to leave the house and go to the doctor, right? And so we need that same level of first aid awareness when it comes to the things that are lesions in our soul. And we have to be able to take ourselves apart and to sit with what we're feeling and just feel it and let love heal the feeling. We don't have to be afraid to feel. So we don't have to stuff it down with food. We don't have to stuff it down with alcohol. We don't have to stuff it down with any of that. That literally we can follow that 3-step process and be with those emotions, be with those feelings. And then to do what only we divine beings can do, to step outside of ourselves and observe ourselves. And let the Christ of our being heal us and love us and tell us, you're perfect as you are. You're amazing as you are. Don't change a thing. Right where you are, as you are love. And the beauty of this process, and maybe even the irony of this process, is that when you heal those feelings, you absolutely do change. But it's our feeling that we have to change that makes us not want to change. Does that make sense? So, anyway, any questions tonight? And if this has helped you, please share this with somebody. Please share this with somebody. This is, it is my hope. Again, my single idea is that I want you to get that you've got something in you that if you figure out how to let it out, it will be a game changer for the planet. And so that's my single idea that I'm hitting every week, different angles, different ways to say it. But that's what this whole thing is about. I want you to really get that you have that within you that's never been done before and that only you can do. And that if you don't do it, nobody else is called to do it because it's your specific divine assignment. Thank you so much for tonight. We will be in chapter 21, which I think is the last chapter. So this is next week is, oh my God, y'all, it is. It's the last chapter. Be the law. Be the law. Be the law. That's what it is. Be the law. So that's chapter 21. So not next week. We're taking a break. So no prayer call next week. No Bible hangout next week. We will be eating turkey and I will be enjoying myself. I'll be playing spades with somebody and winning. And be real clear about that with the universe. Yes, because I'm serious about my spades game. And so, so let me say this. If you're coming with me where I'll be playing spades and you cannot play spades, do not try to be my partner because I'm not nice about that. I don't have a whole lot of compassion in the area of spades. So, yes, so we will not have class next week, but we'll be back on the 30th. And then what we'll do in December, I think we only have 2 Thursdays in December before we take the Christmas break. We will do a focus on prosperity for the end of the year. And maybe what I'll do, I'll teach from the money poems. Da, da, da. Let's do that. We'll do the money poems. Okay, there we go. We'll talk about the principles, though. There are 4 guiding principles that are underneath the money poems. And so we'll talk about that in December. All right. I love and appreciate you guys. I'm grateful. Yes, next week is Thanksgiving. Yes, 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 yes. Have a beautiful night. Thank you, everybody, for just everything. And I am grateful for you guys. And I will see you guys next 2 weeks. See you guys in 2 weeks. All right. Good night.